The Martin County Board of Education, regular meeting for August 2nd, 2021 is now open. Ms. Massey will do the pledge and Ms. Cargile invocation. Let us stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Father, we're here tonight to do the best for our county and our students. Lord, bless us in our decision making and bless all the admin that are here and the school staff that are listening and parents and students of Martin County. Be with us. And in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Mr. Cargile. Give me a second, please. Can I get approval of the agenda?
Second.
Mr. Heath, and all in favor, show of hands. So moved. I'm sorry, I am looking for public comments paper.
It was.
Thank you, Ms. Scott.
Thank you.
I apologize, I did not get into that stuff. So, public comment, we do have one person for public comment, Mr. John Liddett. And Mr. Liddett, before you begin, I will read you the administrative procedures for public comment. Where do you want him at?
Right there.
Right there at the podium. If you can get at the podium and give me a few minutes, I'll give you this. The Martin County Board of Education will schedule up to 20 minutes at its regular scheduled monthly school board meeting, generally the first Monday each month, for individuals or group who wishes to address the board. Any person or group can register to speak at the school board meeting until just before the meeting begins. The board chair will provide a summary of your public comment prior to the session. Individuals will be given 3 minutes. Are you representing an individual, Mr. Liddett?
Well, I'm going to represent an individual requesting, which, as I talked to you 6 weeks ago about a Young Life ministry here.
Okay, individual will be given 3 minutes to make your presentation. Any material that the individual group wishes to present to the board should be submitted prior to the meeting so they can be distributed. The board will not respond to comments except for requests and clarification of points made by the presenter. The superintendent will provide a written response for questions posed to the board within 10 working days of the meeting. The board will not hear public comments relating to personnel issues or student issues that are under investigation by the administration. Ms. Scott, you got the time?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Liddett, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, school board president. I came here in May because of the frustration of this young man dying, Zion Lawrence. I told you briefly that I ran Young Life clubs for gangs up in Philadelphia, so I retired down here. I don't need to read the whole synopsis here. It tells you the purpose of Young Life and everything. I'm just going to read the bottom. As you may know, March 14th, 2021, Zion Lawrence was murdered. It was rumored to be a payback over a fight between two rival gangs, but does it really matter? Have we reached a stage where all interaction with middle school and high school students is by law enforcement? Have we, as a community, been so divided we can't come to a consensus on how to help our kids overcome peer and gang affiliation pressure? Teens face challenges in today's world that needs guides and adult leaders who will help them navigate this world with Christian values. Young Life provides that. Our needs: a safe haven with some semblance of a gym. Young Life meetings are called clubs, which meet weekly. Club meetings usually have an organized game, a lesson that involves a message or moral Christian value, and relating them to their everyday life. Clubs also allow kids to seek trained Young Life leaders for talking and problem solving. Solution: I propose to solve the need by requesting E.J. Hayes Middle School is a viable meeting place for Young Life. We do not necessarily like meeting in churches because the connotations were associated with the church. We're a non-denominational organization like Celebrate Recovery. Next need: train local adults to facilitate and implement Young Life mission and to run, plan, serve said mission. We would need at least 4 adults, preferably college-age adults who have a passion to serve Christ. Most of my leaders up north were school teachers that see the problems with the kids. That's why I'm bringing this to you. Solution: I would arrange for all those interested in becoming Young Life leaders to be trained by Young Life staff. I would cover all the expenses that may arise from that. Training is usually 6 hours, taught over 2 or 3 days. But I would need help disseminating their quest for leaders. I don't know enough people as a senior that I'm traveling those circles for young leaders. Need and solution: a unified Christian front. We need to set aside all issues that define us as a cloistered church and community and work together as a single body of Christ. We need all to participate at some level so we can help the youth of today find purpose with Christ's message of love and healing. Some of you may know Liz and I started Celebrate Recovery Ministry 6 years ago in Williamston. CR is a ministry for adult addicts, a 12-step program based on the Beatitudes. At the time, I wanted all churches in the area to know what we were attempting to do. I phoned, wrote, and visited at least 60 registered churches, and not one church wanted to get involved, except Ray Taverner at First United Methodist Church. I grew up Mennonite, so it didn't matter to me. Celebrate Recovery is a non-denominational ministry, and so is Young Life. I do not care where you go to church. I simply want to minister to those. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Finish your statement.
Finish it.
It's only another paragraph. We would need an enthusiastic community who wants Young Life. Young Life is similar to CR, except we deal with youth who struggle with their identity in a world of peer pressure and gangs. Young Life deals with kids at their most basic level. Young Life can be an avenue for kids seeking to deal with pressures of everyday life. When I worked with Young Life in Philadelphia, I mentored many boys, but one of them was named Mike. He was a member of the OK Corral Blood Gang. After Mike reluctantly came to a few Young Life Club meetings, I asked him why the gang, and his reply was, I need to feel like I belong to something. What will the young people in Martin County say? I truly believe if Zion had felt like he belonged that March 14th night to something Christ-centered, he'd be alive. I believe this is what is needed for our kids. Martin County, the town of Williamston, I believe, is at a crossroads. I've been here 13 years, and I've seen little progress when it comes to working together as a team. I pray consistently for this community to work together, provide progress, could help the citizens of Martin County. My Mennonite grandmother used to say to me, see a need, pray about it, then have God help guide you fill the void. I prayerfully believe there is a need for Young Life in Martin County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Any questions? Are we allowed questions?
Yes, sir. But I do not get clarity on what you're asking Martin County School to do.
The Hayes building has a gym, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We did all of them at schools up north. What I would need from the school board is the liability you require us to carry if we meet one day a month there, or one night a month, or one night a week. And some cooperation disseminating the information to leaders. I don't know the young people as well as I should.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Fonseca will give you a written response within 10 minutes, okay?
Okay,
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
thank you. Sorry.
Could I get a approval of the consent agenda, please? Can I get a motion to approve? Mr. Heath?
Second.
Ms. Cargile had her hand up. Ms. Cargile?
All right.
And all in favor, show of hands. So moved. Thank you. Information items.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. So our first update is Martin County and Martin County Schools COVID-19 update. So Ms. Thomas is not able to join us this evening, so Wagner will provide the update.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Wagner.
Madam Chair and board members, just to give you briefly the update on our COVID numbers for this summer in our summer school. We had basically a total of 5 students who went home during summer school for symptoms, okay? Underdiagnosed in the students, the number was 0. Exposures were a total of 14. They were exposed to someone who had been tested positive for COVID, and they did go home. And the home quarantine group, we had 12 that were on home quarantine. Under our staff, we had 2 staff members who were diagnosed during the summer that with COVID. So that
While they were teaching.
One staff member was at Riverside Middle, and one was within the county and the technical transportation and maintenance department. And
Any other question for Mr. Wagner on this report?
And we heard anything from the health department on county-wide?
okay, I did reach out to the county director of health department, asked for him to actually come tonight, and he had a conflict with this. You have a sheet of paper that he has given you that I got it about 20 minutes ago. We placed it on your desk. It pertains a little bit more to what I'm going to be talking about later on the agenda. However, I will tell you this, the last board meeting that I spoke to you, I did a little bit of an update, and I told you that the COVID numbers for the county were running in the area during that time of somewhere like 4 at a max was the max, and many days was 0. I would tell you that over the past week and a half, the numbers have been running daily between 10 and 14, with a current active number of about 45 active cases going on, and that was so the numbers from the last time I spoke to you to today, because I did look at the numbers today, and I think there were like 14 current cases today, new cases today. But I had asked for the health department to give you an update, and then they provided this to me just a little bit.
Were we given the positivity rate for Martin County? That's what I'd like to hear.
I don't know the positivity, no, I don't have that. What I do know though is that Martin County, the last time I checked, and I'm going off the last time I checked, is that we had moved from orange into red.
Red.
Yes,
I
sir.
think we're between 10 and 15, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not gonna specify because
I always like to hear the
Dr.
positivity rate.
Fonseca, can you bring that up for us, please? In your, the ones that you sent out to us, Shelley?
Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Wagner. The data you're presenting here, is that with math?
Yes, ma'am. Our summer school our summer school did wear
Throughout
masks, and they were required, during, summer school as long as they were indoors. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Based on our recognition, Mr. Wagner, that information is at the top of that one document indicated, because last time I looked at it, Martin County was 8 point some% positivity rate. Before that, it was 10 point.
I thought when it was 10.
I'm looking over here to see where it's off.
We're looking at the one he sent today.
Okay, today positivity rate is,
We're looking.
I emailed asking for this data to be read, the positivity rate. What would be? I don't understand why we're not ever prepared with,
so what time did you do that? This time?
that few days ago.
Okay,
I see 8.9% is what I see. Percent positive from July 11th through July 24th, Martin County, 8.9%.
Now, is that the entire population of Martin County, or is that simply the people that have been tested?
That's what we told.
That's what came out today. I know Tyrrell's at 2.8 and Washington's at 2.3, we're at 8.9%.
what you got?
I have 8.9 as of the 7/28 data.
7/28. So
July
that was Friday.
But it is 8.9%.
That didn't pretend to answer my question.
It is per,
It's simply the people that have been tested, not the entire population of Martin County. That's a tremendous difference.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is.
I think you are correct.
It's total test.
If an instructor has manually pinned a discussion into this section, the current discussions within a course are found here. Discussions can remain open indefinitely, or you can specify a date range of availability. These
Madam Chair, we can read what his memo.
did he give recommendations?
No, he doesn't give it.
No.
Well, in his little
He
sheet,
did provide
it's on his
guidelines.
sheet. He did provide some things in his little sheet, but I'll be discussing some of that stuff with you.
We should wait until.
So you will come back and discuss it.
We should.
Why don't we do it all at the same time?
Well, the toolkit this is the report for the district. The toolkit conversation, I guess our parents interpret that as the conversations about face masks, is the last item on our agenda right now.
Okay, we'll move with that. We'll wait for that to discuss the North Carolina school kit.
We can, it's worth, reading this part that he sent in the.
Yes, sir. Please read that, Mr. Wagner.
Okay, total tests completed in North Carolina as of 8/2 are 14,477,619. That is with a 10.6% positive rate. And in diagnostic tests as of 7/27 for Tyrrell County, I can tell you that, but for Martin County, 29,146 tests, or 129.9% of the population. The percent positive from July 11th through July 24th for Martin is 8.9%.
I missed that. Say that last sentence again.
Percent positive from July 11th through July 24th for Martin County is 8.9%.
Thank you. Okay. You came today? Okay, so,
That's today's email from Mr. Grant.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, we'll discuss, thank you, Mr. Wagner, we will discuss the North Carolina school kid return to school procedure. It's the last thing on our agenda for tonight. Dr. Fonseca?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our next item is a repeat item. It was asked to be reintroduced. SRO MOU, increase of funding request. Drew Robinson is here, and I believe Sheriff Manning is participating by phone.
Ms. Scott, is, Mr. Harrell on that you're aware?
I have not heard from him.
Okay.
They were gonna call me if they were gonna be able to join.
Okay, thank you.
I have not heard from him.
So that means that he may still be in the emergency room.
Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Fonseca, I was asked to come back, I guess, to answer some more questions, maybe clarify on what we were asking for during the last meeting. So I'll be willing to answer anything that you have or clarify anything that may have been a little confusing.
Is Sheriff Manning on?
Sheriff?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So,
Can you
Sheriff,
Can you hear me?
yes, sir. We hear you well. You got the floor, Sheriff.
Okay. I just wanted to, appreciate y'all's time bringing this back up again. We had this position a couple of years ago, so it's not something new that we're asking for. It's, basically when, Sergeant P went back to the, sheriff's office and then COVID hit. And, I just didn't promote anybody, last year. So this position is kind of, we put somebody as SRO in his position, of course, but I just didn't promote anybody due to the fact that everybody was out of school. And, we just wanted to put this position back in. So it's nothing new that we're asking for. And also, I had a chance to look at our contract. On 3.7, the sheriff's office further agrees that we shall designate a regular employed law enforcement officer to be the supervisor as the SRO's coordinating functions of the SRO approach. What Drew has been kind of taking care of this, my chief deputy, but he has other functions in the sheriff's office that he needs to be taken care of, not just the day-to-day operations. I know there was a question last time about would this SRO be going around to each school? No, he would not be. He would be assigned to his school or her school and be there. As far as checking reports, doing the sergeant position, he can check reports right from his computer at his office. And he would not have to go to another school. The only time that he would have to go to another school, like if there was something major going on, and they needed some assistance. But as far as the day-to-day operations, he can coordinate all that by telephone or by email, and of course on our system as far as our reports, Sheriff's Pack. So, I just need somebody there. If somebody's out to make sure that it's covered, everything's covered. And also that all the ball games are covered and scheduling out equally as well. So, like I say, we're not really asking for anything that we have not had before. It's just that we did not have a position last year, and also part of the year before that because of COVID. I just didn't promote anybody. We saved you some money, and but I just wanted to put that back in place, as our new school year started. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. There were some questions that Ms. Cargall and Mr. Scott had for clarity in our last meeting.
for this new position, where will the officer, be housed?
the officer will be one of the SROs that is already there.
Already in one of the schools.
Yes, it's not, something new that we're starting, it's just a position, to promote one of the SROs that's already in the school. So it's not something that'll be housed in my office or anything like that.
So we were wondering, if I remember correctly, how is he or she gonna do their duty at the same time have this position? So we needed more clarity on that. So it's mainly scheduling, is that what you're saying?
Yes, I mean, they'll continue to do their duties at the school. Well, like I say, we've had this position, ever since, I'd say probably 6 or 7 years, when actually Pete was out there. So, I mean, it's nothing new that we're asking for. I mean, he continues to do his duties at high school, and he also supervised the others. So, I mean.
And how much was the raise? I can't remember.
Wasn't it $3,000?
It'd be between $2,500 and $3,000. Like I say, you were already paying before, so.
Well, it's a shame you took it away, because it sounds like a lot now.
It wasn't that we took it away, it was just that Ashley transferred down to the office, and I just, didn't promote anybody, to that position, during COVID.
Right.
I mean, COVID hadn't hit, you would have still had that position.
Right.
So I just saved you some money during, last year and part of the year before.
So you feel like this position is really needed?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I mean, we need it. We've had it before. And, like I say, we just need somebody there to handle the day-to-day operations. It's just like supervisors at the schools. I mean, you gotta have them in place to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And everything gets scheduled. There's a lot of ball games.
Yeah.
Just different activities that need to be scheduled. And of course, people, get sick, and we want to make sure we got everything covered for y'all.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nancy?
Sheriff Manning,
Yes.
if this is voted upon, will this be something that'll be reoccurring every year, as far as asking for a raise or increasing the amount?
No. This will be we won't be increasing the amount unless, all the county employees gets a raise, and, of course, we'll raise them up then, just like everybody does. We got a 2% raise this year, it was a total raise, not raise, but just a total increase. And, that's the only increase that will be. I will not be coming back asking for another sergeant position and all that. This will just be a one-time increase for one deputy, which it will be reoccurring, but it'll be for the same deputy. It won't be an increase, it'll just be continuing. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any more questions to Sheriff Manning? Did he answer all your questions, Mr. Scott? Sheriff Manning, I'm sorry we messed up your vacation, but enjoy anyways. Thank you.
No, ma'am, that's no problem. I'm working all the time. I've been working today, so don't worry about that.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir. Are we good?
You good? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Summer school final update.
That's it.
Second.
Yes, ma'am. All right, Ms. Wagner's here for the update.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone's well. So I have 3 quick slides for you. The first one shows a comparison with the K-8 students in the average attendance. And as you can see, from June to July, we did drop a bit, but we kind of knew that would happen, or felt like that would happen after we had the break at the end of June, and then going into the July 4th week. So, but we still had, a good number of students who consistently attended, and we were very pleased with that. The next slide, not only did we have to have the summer learning recovery program, but we also had to run the summer reading camp for Read to Achieve, like we do every year. And this is just the results of the third graders that retested at the end of the summer program. So you can see that we had a total of 36 students who took the test. We had 9 to pass. And that data comes from this speech that we're very appreciative of. So.
Question, Ms.
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner. So what does that mean for the 9 students and the 27 of them?
So the 9 students that are proficient are now totally clear as far as their reading to be promoted if they met all the other criteria and the principal promoted. The other students we look at individually, and then more than likely those students will go into a 3-4 transition class, which for Read to Achieve, they will have a retained note identification in Power School for reading. It's reading retained. And then in November, late October, early November, we give the Read to Achieve test again. And then if they pass, that reading retained will be removed. But they will be in a 4th grade classroom, and they'll continue to get interventions in reading.
I have a question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'll go back.
Why the difference in Hayes and South Creek? 10% to 44%.
I mean, that was just the number of students who passed, and it just may have been where those students were when they left at the end of the year. Some of the students at South Creek may have been closer to passing the Read to Achieve. It's very hard to have a student who, in 6 weeks, 24 days to move from not proficient to proficient.
I was still expected to be over 10%.
Well-
That's not acceptable.
At first, in numbers, surely it's not. Remember that you're not looking at total numbers of a total sample population. You're looking at the number of students that participated, came to school, took the test, felt the need to be there to begin with. So should we look at more for the sake of looking at more? Always. But just keep in mind that these are not total numbers of a total student population.
And do we know where they are at the same level?
We haven't finished analyzing that.
Remediation, but how much
Right,
remediation do they need?
right.
Yeah,
And so
interesting.
that just depends on
Were there any
where
special
they
children in it?
started, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, did everybody get passed this past year, regardless of their test scores?
Not that I know of. I mean, as far as I know, the principals have the,
Were there
Right
any
to-
retentions?
as far as I know, there probably were. And they knew that there had to be, criteria and documentation for all of those schools
So
because,
the ones that did poorly were asked to go to summer school so they could pass. How about the ones that didn't go to summer school? They're being passed too, or do you know?
I mean, I don't know that,
I would have to talk to the.
that's,
Do you know, Dr. Fonseca?
No, we didn't learn that.
I
We
mean,
haven't finished analyzing our summer data. Now,
So did we hold back anybody from the end of the school year if they didn't go to summer school?
no, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's what I
Sorry.
wanted to know.
No, well,
We-
they
we're
may,
passing everybody.
I
No.
don't think it's that simple. Ms. Vargas.
no, we
Just
didn't
pass it.
promote everyone. However, going to the summer learning recovery program was optional.
Optional.
So we
it's-
could not say, if you go,
Okay.
then you could, right, then you
That's what I was
pass.
trying to get at.
Right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So we have not finished analyzing our data for a number of reasons. One, if we have students that at the end of the year, they decided to go homeschool so that they didn't have to do anything else. That would count against us, but it doesn't mean that we didn't promote. Summer school was optional, so we don't control the number of students that were coming in from the very beginning. Summer school was not mandatory, which means that some students did not complete summer school.
Like in the past, it was mandatory, but it's not, that's what I wanted to do.
And even at EJ Hayes, I mean, just looking at the attendance data, there were, it could have been that some of those third grade students came for a couple of days, didn't come for a week, came back another couple of days, didn't. And it's very hard without that consistency to move students from being, to proficiency in that shorter period of time. So I have some great news for you on the next slide. Our high schools, this just makes me smile. So some of the numbers from Riverside High School are they are approximate because we don't have we didn't have updated numbers as of today. We were unable to get that. But if you look, we had a total of 227 courses were recovered between the two high schools.
That's good.
Yes, we had approximately 50 students promoted from whatever grade they were in last year to next year because they were able to pass a course that they needed for promotion to the next grade. And then I know 4 doesn't seem like a lot, but we graduated 4 students just from the summer program, them being able to finish high school with this program. So that's just a very exciting highlight.
That is very exciting. Yes. I will ask our board please to give our students a hand.
Thank you. You are so welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Madam Chair, the next 2 presenters are part of our program over the next few years of utilizing some of the newly released ESSER 3 funds. So I've asked Mr. McGill and Ms. Bird to provide you with a 100-day plan just so that the board knows that we are committed to utilizing these funds appropriately and we're committed to the success of our students and families. All right, so please welcome Mr. McGill. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Glad to be here. Very excited. You guys, I'm very passionate about what I do. So, I ain't really hollering, just kind of natural how I talk. My name is Nasim McGill. I'm the Director of Student and Family Involvement for Martin County Schools. I'm excited about this opportunity. I have a 100-day plan I want to give you guys from what I've been starting on since July 1 all the way up to November. What is the Office of Student Involvement? What is the office? Student Involvement for Martin County Schools provides activities and services for the school's community. Through various boards, committees, and staff, we provide cultural, social, and recreational programs aiming to make the out-of-class experience a part of the total educational process while advancing the mission of Martin County Schools. We want to develop the whole child and all those different components. Continue right on. The Office of Student Involvement promotes a sense of community and loyalty to Martin County Schools while serving as a place for social, intellectual, developmental growth for students and individuals as part of a group. Learning occurs all in Martin County Schools, both inside and outside the classroom. Martin County Schools provides a broad variety of activities and programs to assist youth and participate in Martin County Schools. A community developing your skills and knowledge, leadership, wellness, service, and diversity. Mission statement. The mission statement, this is the mission for my department. The Department of Student and Family Involvement fosters engagement in student-led programs and services that enrich the educational experience by maximizing the capacity of students to learn, serve, and lead. Once again, the things tying together. We're developing the whole child. It's, the academic side and the other side of the child. The vision statement. We're more than involvement. We prepare student leaders for involvement with purpose, focused on leadership, service, and active citizenship. Now, let's kind of give you an overview of my department. And I got one more slide, and we'll get to some bullets for each month so far. The whole child approach This is the thing we're talking about. You know, when the kids come to school, what are they doing besides these other things? You want to focus on the mathematics, literacy, cognitive, physical, English language acquisition, the arts, social studies, social and emotional, language, science, and technology. We want to develop that whole child. We want that child, when they leave Martin County School, we want to be as well-rounded as they can be to be able to compete globally. Some of the things I've been working on since July 1, when I transitioned to this position. First thing we did, I took a tour of Martin County, from west of Martin County to east of Martin County. I established a department overview with the mission and vision. Compiled information on interscholastic sports participation at both high schools from both athletic directors. I contacted all the municipalities in Martin County to find out about recreational opportunities in their communities. Attended the North County Coach Association workshop. Attended North County High School Athletic Association Administrator workshop. And I have some data from interscholastic sports participation in Martin County that's very interesting that I can share with you guys. For example, Martin County high schools, this is 2021 school year data. We had Riverside High School had 464 students, and South Creek had 250 students. So it was a total of 714 students in both high schools. We had 237 boys and 227 girls at Riverside High School. I just broke it down per student. Had 107 boys and 143 girls at South Creek High School. To participate, and this is athletically, I'm talking about it's sports right now, not clubs, this is sports, for example. We had 73 boys play a sport at Riverside, and 56 girls. At South Creek High School, we had 22 boys and 29 girls. So between both schools combined, we had 95 boys and 85 girls to participate. So why are you telling me all this data, Coach McGill, Mr. McGill? That means at Riverside High School, we had about 28% of our student body to participate in interscholastic activities. South Creek had about 20% of their students. So out of 714 students in our district in the 2021 school year, we had about 180 kids out of 714 participating in interscholastic activity. That's only 25% of our district participating in interscholastic activity. My goal with my department is to drive that up tremendously. Well, what are you doing to drive that up? As you can see, contact all the municipalities in Martin County. So in Western Martin County, they haven't had recreational sports in over 10 years. So you're talking about a community, kids get to high school, they haven't been able to play. The first thing I did is I met the Parks and Recreation Department in Winston. I said, we allow the kids, not that we to the members to come sign up and play. They jumped on board, they let them come play. I called the mayor, the recreation department from all the counties. Got kids to come sign up and play. At this time, it's 74. For example, we only had football signed at this point. Volleyball starts next week. It's out of 74 kids who signed up for recreation football ages 5 through 12. We have 12 kids from the west end of Martin County who last year this time it was 0 kids playing. So we're starting to increase. We're starting to increase the numbers. So we're trying to give kids a chance to participate throughout the district. It's just some examples of one of the things we talked about so far. Continuing right along, in July, attended the leadership retreat with all the Martin County administrators. Sent an introduction email to all my Martin County principals, introducing myself and letting them know what my goal is to help their school. Email all the principals for their daily school schedules. One of the biggest things we're looking at now is starting a type of intramural sports program / clubs program. We're still in that brainstorming stage. I'm gonna get some more information here in a second with that. We hosted a football official registration meeting in Morton County Auditorium. We had about 150 officials in Northeast North Carolina, all came to Williamson, North Carolina, and met. We've had some kids who homeschool, who want to participate with us in Morton County schools, and we kind of addressed that situation. We met with the coaches, the athletic directors from both schools, Riverside High School, Riverside Middle, and South Creek High School. Co-planning with the director of Family and Student Community Connections, which is Ms. Bird. Has been doing a lot of things together because we bring all this together. Communicate with the Boys and Girls Club directors from EJ Hayes and at South Creek, because it's part of my plan. How can we get these kids involved and motivated to do some things? In August, we're here in August. We've already, the Job is Ed program, we've already made a schedule throughout the whole 2021-22 school year. We're gonna try something different this year. We're gonna even offer a Saturday class. Well, kids who play sports, sometimes they can't take the class during the year. We're gonna offer that actually at South Creek High School. It's gonna be open for anybody in the county. You know, maybe they come to class on a Saturday. Later on, that's way down the road, but I'm just ahead, but just to give kids an opportunity. We're gonna conduct meetings with the PE teachers from all in the district. When I say conduct meetings with the teachers of the arts, music, band, you know, what can we do to support you guys? Sometimes sometimes they feel like they didn't get supported, so we want to see what we can do to help those programs grow as well. Gonna attend athletic events. Continue to work on the intramural program. And doing the intramural programs, I want to have a character education piece I want to bring along. It's gonna help our kids. Different topics. Meet with principals to come up with intramural schedules. Sometimes the intramural schedule might be such a club day type thing with the different activities. Continue to seek financial resources, to help with the intramural programs, grants and donations. A couple of Jobs Ed conferences coming up. You can stay up to date on the new Jobs Ed policies. Making sure we're getting the schedules from all the athletic directors throughout the district. And we can continue to monitor athletic eligibility throughout the district. Sorry about that. I'm gonna speed up a little bit. Here's the schedule of our jobs education class dates for the fall. One of the biggest things we want to do is the ACES program. We can bring that back. Stands for Athletes Committed to Excellence in Sports, and it's some basically the kids gotta have a certain. They don't have a 70. They gonna be they gotta go to after school at least twice a week to make sure they're staying eligible. And then communication with Ms. Bird. In October, continue to monitor ACES athletic eligibility, participate as an active member of the SHAC team, and just continue to work with Ms. Bird and coordinate with the different community events. November, what's got our Jobs Ed schedule, continue to monitor ACES and do all those things. And that's kind of overview. If anybody have any questions for me, I know I'm sorry, I'm kind of going a little bit.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm not gonna ask you tonight. So just gonna wait to see each month move itself through.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, we're gonna have the timeline for you here in just a minute, just to take with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Purvis.
My question, Mr. McGill, is what do you see as quick wins? What do you see as quick wins? How we can immediately, without having all these plans, like you mentioned that we were going to ensure the western part of the county, those students could participate immediately. But things that don't take a lot of planning, like what can we do? ACES, why don't we have that now? What can we immediately start?
ACES is something we can immediately start when school starts. That's something you can start. And like once we get the first 3 weeks of school started, we see where the grades are like. Kids are not having, they don't have a 70 or higher in their classes. They immediately have to stay after school twice a week before they can go to practice and participate. That's something we can immediately start. I sent a sample list of a bunch of clubs and activities for principals. I mean, I got about 50 different clubs, activities that principals can start their schools. They get kids interested in other things, it's from the culinary arts club, things like that. We working on a project, trying to bring a national archery in schools programs to our school system, which is something we can really start, just kind of get, once we get our instructors certified, things like that, we can immediately start.
The things that are not traditional type.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
One of the quick wins, if I can add, is that Mr. McGill worked immediately with our municipalities to make sure that students have access. That's the quick win, to have students participate. And the long-term win is that we're rebuilding those programs in different communities that have not had that type of participation in years.
That was my question I was gonna ask. Were you able to get that started this summer with the people from the western end?
We actually, when we let the kids come to sign up and win this year. So right now, I don't know that this was probably like 3 weeks ago I got this data. It might have changed this. So we got 12. I know it's 12 kids from that district that's actually gonna play this year. Okay. Ultimately, the plan is next year this time, for example, those kids can play in their area.
Yeah.
So that, like, so you have like the Riverside Knights have their 5 and 6 year old team. Next year you might have the South Creek 5 and 6 year old team. That's the ultimate goal. But the quick win to answer that question was to get them, just get them playing and involved. We had to do it quick. They came to Williams this year.
So how they get here? Transportation.
Right, it's funny. That's a good question. When I called the different municipalities, I asked that, was that an issue, transportation? And most of them told me that we can find a way to get there. I said, transportation is an issue. We want to eliminate that barrier. Please let me know. And I'll talk to Mr. Edwards about some things that we possibly could work on if that is an issue. So that's something we brainstorm as well.
So all they needed was the access and to be able to play here.
Yes, ma'am.
That was the only barrier.
Yes, so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
The program that Ms. McGill was talking about, the archery program, that is going to be a big win for us as far as student participation. I've seen it. I've seen it at work. I've seen it build the school community, and the kids come out, the parents come out. I used to tell principals and teachers, it takes very little skill to pull on a string and let it go. You know, when you're in elementary, that just it allows students of all ability levels to participate and have a good time. And so that's what builds teams, and that's what builds the community back into the school. And then that's when we start providing more opportunities and more extracurricular accessibility and more sports, more things. 10 years of having no accessibility is not going to be corrected overnight, but we've taken the steps already to get there. Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you,
I have
guys.
one more question.
Okay.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
You fine?
So why is the participation so low, 25%?
Well, what happened, Ms. Purvis, I honestly believe that COVID and kids not actually in the school building, I think played a tremendous role in that. We had some kids that was academically ineligible. I mean, of course, you gotta meet certain requirements academically, that hurt it a lot. Really hurt it a lot. I think with kids going back to school, and I think you'll see it build back up.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right. Madam Chair, members of the board, so our next update is also from our efforts over the next few years utilizing our federal funds to reach out, like Mr. McGill just did with students, Ms. Bird is doing with families. So please welcome Ms. Bird. Her first update to you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for allowing me to present to you this afternoon. I am going to share with you my 100-day plan. I am ecstatic about being selected for this role. I'm very passionate about students, and I'm looking forward to elevating the things that I was doing in my past position, elevating them up to a different level in order to hopefully get even greater student success. What is the Office of Family and Student, Family, Student, and Community Connections? Family, Student, Community Connections will provide services, events, training, and workshops at school or in the community as needed. The aim of each of the events or services will be to build positive relationships between every person, organization, agency, business, anyone that's involved in the educational process in Martin County schools. So the idea is to look to create a positive relationship. We have several things that are working well in our county, but there are several disconnects. And what has happened, I think, over time is people don't feel like they are valued. Families are not participating actively. Students are not participating actively. We have agencies in the community that are doing great services, but they feel disconnected to what their role is as it relates to servicing our students. And so the idea here is to begin to build that positive education with everybody, starting with the board, looking at the superintendent, looking at the leadership team, looking at the administrators. We need the teachers. We need all Martin County staff members to get on board, to get excited about having students back in the building, looking at moving towards their student success. When I think about the custodians, in my opinion, the custodians know just as much about the students as the teachers do in some cases. So we need to make sure that they see themselves as a partner in this process of getting our kids educated. Definitely the parents. I think the parents have somehow gotten lost in terms of what they can or cannot do as it relates to participating in the school. They know things are happening, but they're not sure how to get involved. My new role is to try to help clarify, clean up some of that. We want you there. It's your right. It is a legal obligation for us to educate students, and that takes the parents being involved. Every minute of this process. So we really need to do our best to get both the parents and the students excited again about school, knowing what's happening. Where do I go? Who can I talk to? We want them to know that. And then the community agencies, the Boys and Girls Club, if they're handling our students after school, we want them to know that we are here. What are you doing that we can help tap into it, making translation into the classroom and creating greater success for the students? So building relationships is very, very important. These are the focus areas that I will actually concentrate on in this new role. To look at student involvement, making sure that they are the whole child, as Mr. McGill shared with you. We want the students to be involved, not just to show up for school and then leave and not get involved. We want them to attend the school. We know that COVID presented a lot of problems for us and that students did not actively participate. Some of them wouldn't turn the cameras on half the time. Some of them would not participate in the Google Meets. Some of them chose to work instead of actually going to school. We can't have that happening. We need them to be in school. So that's going to be a big target there to make sure that they are. And of course, academics. In order to be eligible for sports, in order to be eligible for driver's education, academics play an important part. We want to make sure that our students can play football if they want to, but they must know that they are a student first. And we need to get that in order so that they are moving towards that graduation and student success there. We need for them to understand clearly, particularly the parents as well too, course offerings. We need for them to be aware of what do we offer, what is out there for enrichment. We need to know in the summertime, what can I do? We need for them to understand what Project Uplift is at UNC Chapel Hill. We need for them to understand what Emerging Scholars is at North Carolina State University. We need for them to know what Hobie is all about. We need for them to get involved. We need for our processes to connect a little bit better. Martin Community College, we need for them to understand what's involved in the dual enrollment process. We have AG students that we need to make aware of some of these opportunities that will allow them to be better prepared for college and to get access to looking at college courses and maybe leaving Martin County with some courses. My daughter definitely benefited from the dual enrollment education process in that when she left for college, she was able to take 30 credits away from her. So that's a big impact to a family, particularly a family who has to pay, who don't qualify for financial aid. That can save ultimately 30 hours. That's practically a whole year of education that you can save if you participate in the dual enrollment. So we're spending time talking about that. And then, of course, going back to the agencies, making sure that they feel supported. The blessings in a backpack. If they're helping our students with food insecurities, we need to let them know we appreciate that. We need to be involved. Can we give some support in terms of manning that? Because we know it takes man hours in order to get those kinds of services provided to our students. Again, that whole child approach notice, Coach McGill and I had the exact same slide here. We put this in purposefully because we are definitely going to be working very closely with each other. His student involvement in terms of athletics and sports will correlate directly with what I'm going to be doing in terms of graduation success, academic success. We need for them to not know just reading, writing, and arithmetic. We want to make sure that, for me, that social emotional part, we want to make sure that they are healthy, that mentally, if they have some issues, we can get services and things that are needed. So we're going to be working with SHAC to make sure that they will get those services and that we are actually checking in on them, asking questions, trying to build a relationship where they will feel comfortable telling someone about what's going on with them. So again, the whole child. With that, the mission, this is evolving. I spent time just thinking about what the mission is for my particular department. That is, again, to strengthen the relationship between home, school, community, for all students, families, community agencies, and businesses. We want the home piece to come back to school. I want to see parents feeling like I can come to that school and I can get my questions answered. I won't feel like I'm a visitor in the building, or a stranger, I guess is probably a more accurate word. When they see me coming, oh, what is she here for? What is he here for? So that's the mission. And ultimately, the vision that I see there, again, this is just my working look at the vision, but to create cross-functional teams and interactions that will promote academic and vocational success for students and gain that satisfactory approval with parents. When we have happy parents, we have happy students. Because I've been a parent, and I know that every time that I was happy with what was happening in my students' lives, I was a happy person. And that's what I want to see come back. These are some of the things that I've started to do in my 100-day plan in July. July has whizzed by here. I have participated in meetings. Notice I phrased this as planning and gathering information, and that's what I've been doing, the onboarding, visiting the community. I've been attending meetings. I've actually sent out communications to the administrators, trying to gather information about what their needs are, working with Rainier Beach on gathering data to look at what some of the performance issues and areas are in our county. And then looking at soliciting, what do the teachers want me to do? What do the administrators want me to do? Moving on to August, this is the month that I'm calling needs assessment and event planning, asking those questions, getting out in the community, figuring out what, if any, are there some families that the administrators want me to target first? Do you have 4 or 5 families that maybe you want me to even do a home visit to talk to them about some things that may be happening with their students? Attend some events that are coming up. We have the listening sessions that Dr. Fonseca is going to do this coming Thursday at South Creek. The first meeting is going to be held. I'm going to attend that to just listen and gather information from the parents, from the participants about what's going on. And then looking at a back to school activity that is going to be held at Gaylord Perry Park. And again, continue to collaborate with individuals. For September, I'm going to call that building team support. And you can see the list of things that are there. In terms of one or two things to highlight there, working with Miss Leanne Hudson, particularly on that social and emotional learning, to see what's happening, what she's doing in the county, and monitoring that, because it's a big piece for every student that is involved in the county. Other things to happen, to look at there for September is working with the community agencies, again, to solicit their support. And the bottom piece there is financial resources. I'm going to see if I can use my time to look at writing grants to find money. So if we do have some issues with transportation, if we do have some issues with not being able to participate in clubs and organizations because of the money to pay the fees in order to participate, where can we get money to fill in some of those gaps of unmet needs? For October, call that providing services. Just again, looking at working with the parents, particularly with College Advisor, to FAFSA night. It's time to start getting ready for planning and getting ready for college admissions. So I'm going to coordinate and work with the advisors, the counselors, to do a FAFSA night, a parent night, to have them come in. Anytime we can bring parents on campus, I'm going to be looking to actually do that. College tours, get people to go out and see different things that are available to them. Students, in my mind, cannot be what they do not see. And I believe that we have to show them some things so that they can begin to dream again, to think about what it is I can do. November, continuing to provide services, but soliciting feedback from from individuals. working for special events that some of the lower education, like elementary schools and the primary school, Veterans Day, some of the existing programs that the schools already do. Can we just heighten the awareness up a little bit so that we can get families involved a little bit more? Anytime, again, we can get families to participate, we want to do that. Monitoring that graduation tracker. That's, again, the number one goal, to get kids graduated from Martin County schools. It's going to take teamwork to do all of those things that are listed there. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be an evolving process. But I tell you what, I'm 100% invested, and I'm 100% on board with partnering and collaborating with anyone that's going to be working towards that goal of student success and graduation. Summary: planning and data gathering for July, needs assessment for August, building team support for September, providing services for October, and soliciting feedback for November. That's what I will be working on. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes.
Ms. Bird, you mentioned the P word numerous times.
P.
Parents.
Oh, yes, I did.
So tell me how you plan, or how do you envision engaging parents and, re-energize, because it seems like that's the key. I mean, we're not seeing their involvement or participation.
Yes. The first thing that I've done is to talk to the administrators, because the administrators are in the process of preparing their open house, their parent nights. I'm going to try to see where I can get involved with that in order to make sure that we have active participants at these events, focusing on the seniors to give them a great start. I have spoken with Dr. Cecil, and she has a parent who's organizing their senior breakfast. And I asked her, could I participate in that by working with Miss Jody Bickerstaff, is the young lady that she has asked to organize that event. For me to start the senior year off, because they're almost at the finish line, and we definitely don't want to lose them during this process. But to have a representative on that very first day to kick off of that, during that first event, to kick things off, cousin, sister, grandmother, someone, every student will start that day off during that event by having someone there. And every other event, parent-teacher conferences, I think that you saw on that list there, my goal is to actually bring that back and have scheduled parent-teacher conferences, the way it was when I was teaching second grade. They had to wait in line in the hallway and actually to sit down and meet with me. I had data, I had information in which to share with them. I think we need to go more back to that, so that parents are not just doing a pick up the report card and run, or they come on a day after conferences because they want to avoid talking to teachers. We need to make sure that that's a contact that actually happens and is documented and is noted and is tracked to see who is there. And maybe even look at some ways and incentives for getting teachers to actually have a conversation with each parent. Maybe to make it a little competition within the schools in order to do that. But the idea is to up the ante for every school, starting pre-K on up. Parents need to be involved, and we need to help them. I know we're dealing with some of the some age differences in some situations. Regardless, if they're the parent, we need to make sure that they know how to access information. We need, if I have to do training sessions with the counselors on how to access information from our school, that's what we will actually do. So I will do everything in conjunction to what the administrators and the staff members, guidance counselors, and individuals who are targeted to work with students for their academic performance. So that's the key word, and that's what I will be focusing on. Did I answer your question?
Oh, you did. I'm just wondering if, instead of the traditional structured way, is there a way we can find out why we have the applicant and they're not involved? So maybe drill down a level that's outside of the administration, just to, since we have this position and you're in the community.
Absolutely, and I will work with the administrators because they have firsthand knowledge. And that way will give me an opportunity to go. I'll visit a home. I will meet at Bojangles if I need to. If there's a parent or a family, group of family that have siblings, because we have some issues sometimes with siblings, identify them, and then I will work with them in order to get some more information about what is happening. Particularly if there's more than one child involved. But you're right, I will drill down and actually go into the housing areas. I've even thought about having some individual sessions at some of the surrounding, like in Robertsonville, to go to WC Chance. Have smaller settings where parents will come and they will talk a little bit more. I think the community settings are excellent, but sometimes the numbers or the people may not feel comfortable talking. So I'll work with Dr. Fonseca to say, if this avenue doesn't provide us what we're looking for, can we drill it down to go to like a WC Chance, go to the Housing Authority, go down the hill and work and have something at a local area. So making it a little bit smaller setting for them. Yeah, okay.
And I take it that you will be working closely with Ms. Hodges, Ms. Salt?
Oh, yes, she is
Sarah
the
Ray.
PR person. I will not do anything without going through Ms. Hodges, because again, I don't want to get us into any legal battles either as a school. So she's going to be a checkoff point for everything that I do in terms of involvement in the community. She will see everything before it gets advertised, like the event that's coming up on August 14th. She has that flyer. So she will, of course, in Dr. Fonseca as well.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, you can pick up on her
Thank
energy, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Burke.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, Board, we're going to transition to our last part of the information items. This is the Innovation Campus update. This is an important update because we are now past July 1, which was the date where the project is marked as being late. Last Thursday, as you know, the board had an opportunity to tour the facility again. A couple of you were able to attend. And out of that meeting, I think that a few things have become clear and evident. So, are you ready, Mr. Gordon?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening. We had our last major building update was on the 22nd, and that was with the contractors and the architects, and Mr. Edwards and I were there along with Dr. Fonseca, Mr. Wagner, Mr. Matthews, and Mr. Al Chesson, Mr. Doug Chesson, Kent Manning, the site superintendent, and of course myself, along with Matt Oakley. And so what we've done is we have gone through and I've picked, selected, like I usually do, with some pictures, and then I've got the map that follows along with those pictures. And we're going to discuss the progress and the different concerns and progress and issues as we go through. All right, on slide number 1 on the storefront, the main key with that is on the left-hand side, not the Porta-John, but on the left-hand side is the blue paint or the exterior paint last week. The prepping has been done, and in the last Friday and today, the blue has been put on, and the bottom, they were working on the second coat of white when I left this evening. The second thing also on the storefront part on the right is where the glass is not in. It came in last Wednesday, and then when Williamston Glass, the manager or the owner came back and looked at it, it was not tempered correctly, so the glass had to be reordered. Now, what the glass issue does is that they have, and I'll show you another picture here in a minute, but what they've done is they have worked up to everything they can do on the east side without the glass in, because without the glass in, they can't charge the air conditioners to get the air flowing, the humidity down, and they have to do that for 3 days before they can do certain things or certain types of painting and some other stuff, which we'll talk about. But that's the key right now, is that the glass had to be reordered. It was not a contractor issue, but a manufacturing issue, but still a delay. Cabinets that we've been talking about for several weeks now. 2 sets of the cabinets that come in toward the end of last week. The ones on the left-hand side are in the simulated hospital. On the right-hand side are in the biomedical lab. And for the big biotech lab, the one that we've toured several times with the heavy-duty epoxy floor that y'all have seen, those were being installed today. So those came in today. This machine right here, this is the machine that's being used to prep the floors on the east side, and for drawings number 3 for the epoxy to go down on the shop floors. That flooring will be the 30 mil. That'll be similar to what is down in the biotech lab currently. This is in the backside, and they before they put down the asphalt, they have to put down some guttering, a concrete gutter and bank in the back of the building, and it's split halfway, so it's either drains basically toward 64 or 6417, and then toward the highway, toward the employment job link area. And so that is the final prepping. The asphalt work was supposed to begin last week, had some issues. It was supposed to begin today. But when we left this evening, the paving company was not set up and ready to get started as of this evening. When we left I left till about 5:20. Number 5 on the east side, on the 24th of July, the east side was energized. And what that means is all the lights above us, then we're running the strings, lights like y'all have seen, several that have been out. They've energized that side, so now they can start to use the lighting that's been provided in the facility. Also on the east side, they have done the painting of it. And what they've done is they've done everything that they can do, spraying it or aerosol application. And then now they've got to go back and hand paint it, because the issues is that when they spray that ceiling, they're consuming a lot of paint. And even though labor costs offset it, it is waste less paint and more cost efficient to have them go up there and hand paint like the fire lines and some of those areas than to keep aerosol spraying and going over, because they have to spray it 4 times in 4 different sections, top, sides, and then bottom. So they've got the initial spray up on the east side, and now they're going back and doing the hand work to get that squared away. This slide, and this slide, I'll double back. These 3 slides are for the sidewalk area. One of the concerns that we had was that after very hard rains, which we've seen a lot of lately, water wanted to back up into the building a little bit. It's the way the grade was done. So what we did was we took money that we already had in the building. We made some adjustments, and we were able to save about $30,000 and pull up all the concrete sidewalk, majority of it out front, and then grade it properly away from the building for about $14,000. So we were able to pick up the savings, but be able to use that way to keep the project going, to keep the water away from the building. Once we got the new sidewalk, and we had, of course, the rain we had yesterday and some other rain events since that has been done. And like this morning when we went over there, the water, of course, was out, but it was not in the building, where the sidewalk had not backed up. So that has seemed to have made a good point. But that's one of the areas that they worked on to keep the water away from the storefront. And also, this is along the end toward the NC Telecenter. This is what they were finishing toward the end of last week when I was taking the prep and pictures of how they had everything graded. And of course, the sidewalk and the front sidewalk has been completed. This is the best picture, but last weekend, this is what they were doing to paint the outside. You know, some people say, well, why are they spraying certain parts of the paint and rolling others? The way painting works is what I've learned, and from Mr. Edwards and several others, is that each paint has its own specifications and its own guarantee and its own warranty. So if you want the warranty to work for the paint in certain areas, if it says it has to be rolled on for the warranty to be guaranteed, then you roll it on. If it says this paint has to be sprayed or aerosol on for the guarantee to work, then you do it that way. And so that's why you'll look out there and sometimes you'll see them spraying certain types of paint. And then like on that day, they were on the NC Telecenter end working their way over, and they were hand rolling on the ethos or the outside of the structure. As you can see here on the interior storefront, what they have done is without the glass, they have gone as close as recommended by the site superintendent and the architect to where they can go sealing it, as you can see where they've done the putty work and everything, and on the side that you can't see on the behind, which would be on the left, where they primed it. So they have basically covered every area that they could possibly get to without the glass being up there. So they've worked right up to it. Just another look at the ceiling. This picture, I mean, it does a good job showing coverage, but it doesn't do as good a job. But you can kind of see some gray areas around pipe fittings and those type of things. All that will have to go back and be done by hand. So that way we're not wasting paint, or they're not wasting paint and getting the job done. This is just some of the prep work that was done to the floor area for the maker space on the east side. And then here are some of our pictures as the furniture comes in. We're storing it in the 3 classrooms on the front with number 13. You can see the front area. We're at 14 and 15 where all those areas are being covered with furniture, because those areas can be locked and secured. And Mr. Heath got to see some of it, like Mr. Harrell, up close and personal last week. I felt like I was like a big, I get fired up and stuff like that. Some of the furniture, I was like, you gotta come here, gotta try this thing here. But some of the stuff that our kids, and we had some students out there to do a publicity shoot last week, and the kids flocked right to the furniture. You can see a lot of genuine excitement and those type of things with what they did and what they saw. And I know it must have worked really well, because my little buddy Elijah, he was out there with us. And when I got home, he took Amy's cell phone, and next thing I know, I noticed the Amazon cart was filling up with stuff that he had worked on that night. So it must have made some type of impression. If nothing else, it was an expensive impression. So we go through all the furniture, and then the last part, this is just a general, because you're worried about powering the building and doing the things that we need to do and being able to do industry standards. This is the air compressor that's going to be powering both of our shops. Which is one of the largest ones I have ever seen. In fact, paint shops and auto body shops don't have it this large. And so the good thing is, as the programs develop and grow, we're going to be able to do basically 21st century work. We'll have some 21st century equipment ready to go in there. So I've got several things. So I want to stop there and with Mr. Edwards and I to see if any questions.
How long do they think it's gonna take to get the rest of the glass in? The tempered glass.
They have reordered, talked with the architect today. He thought as early as tomorrow for the potential of the glass to be delivered to Williamson Glass and then get it on site, because I talked with Matt Oakley today.
So we're not gonna have trouble with the truck drivers getting it here and all that. It's not from far away.
Correct. Yes, ma'am. And the only positive would be is now, one of the things they were worried about with the glass was you're putting it up and then have to cover it and then worry about backsplash from concrete, repouring the sidewalk. So even though it's later, the one positive is now we don't have to worry about the sidewalks or working around it. Now they can just install the glass, and once they start that process, it'll keep moving.
And who's installing it?
Williamson Glass.
Can we talk about a few of the things we saw the other day?
Yes, sir, we sure can.
All right, let's see. Now, there's more roofing work to be done.
Yes, sir.
It sort of concerns me that we're doing all this work on the inside and the roofing work's not been done yet. And there's one here, it says room 170 to redo the entire roof area. And it's got 125,000. Is that dollars or square feet or
dollars?
Dollars.
One of the problems in room 170, that's with the epoxy floor of the biotech room, is that they strip the roof back, they put the seal in between the roof, like the insulation, and then the roofing back on top, new roofing back on top. But the inside of it is, that's where the paint won't stick good. And so they've looked, Mr. Cheston has talked about different options to fix it. And one of them was if you wanted to get it to where the paint would stick better, with that option, then you literally would have to go back to square one and peel all of that back off and then do the bottom layer, which you see, the insulation, and a whole other top layer. So to get it where it will work. So yes, sir.
So we're not actually having any leaks from this roof.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. And we've had some humdingers, for lack of a better way to say it, and Hank and I go out there, the following mornings and the only water we've ever seen is right there at the sidewalk area, you know, at the store.
Okay. And there
Yes,
was
sir.
mention of painting the interior roof, and I didn't see much evidence that any of that's happened yet.
That happened, all in room 170 or?
That's just the ceiling.
Yes, sir, that happened over the last week. They've been doing that on the east side, yes, sir. They did the epoxy primer and then they put the color. So what you saw were the pictures for slide 5 and slide 11. Slide 5 and slide 11. Yes, sir.
And then, let's see. Now they've got problems getting mixing valves. They were sent the wrong ones.
Correct.
We're gonna be real careful to make sure they don't substitute a lower quality. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then the last thing I wanted to ask about, our contractor has decided on their own that they're gonna consider this 2 jobs.
Yes, sir. They brought this up in March. We never agreed to it. Actually, Mr. Alchesson brought that up in the March meeting when we were standing around the big shop plans, looking at different things about zoning the building off. But Dr. Fonseca was there, and we never agreed to taking the building in phases. They just brought that up, and they said we're zoning the building, and this is, you know, to work and to get things accomplished and get it done. But we did not agree for that for temporary certificate of occupancy or beneficial certificate of occupancy. Dr. Fonseca stressed that, you know, when we get the keys to the building, the key that it's done, everything. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, we got school starting in a couple of weeks, and this building's a long ways from being ready for students.
Yes, sir.
Questions for Mr. Guard or Mr. Edwards?
Is there a contingency plan if it's not ready?
Yes.
We will, since this is a client, lawyer client.
I think it may be okay for Dr. Fonseca to answer Ms. Manson's question, but I do, Chair Council, if you don't mind, the one thing I will say is I think that's a completely relevant question for
Okay,
Ms. Manson. It's not attorney-client privilege, but I will jump in just a second.
okay.
You don't.
So, certainly, if the board reaches a consensus that it is inevitable that we cannot access that building. And so, obviously, the alternate plan is to teach in our high school. What the board needs to engage now, moving forward in conversation is how do you all want to proceed as far as the project is concerned? With direction from you, then I think that our school board attorney then explore options. Since it is, in my opinion, clear that we will not be able to occupy this building for first semester.
And Madam Chair, to piggyback off of that statement, I would like to engage and hear from this board in closed session about that and preserve the attorney-client privilege in doing so. I would ask you to reserve questions for me until we are in that space.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brandon. Mr. Guard?
Yes, ma'am. I got one more part after this,
Okay.
but it's not related to this. It's actually potential for some good news. I love you.
Would you like to proceed, or do you have any more questions as far as the innovation campus is concerned, Madam Chair and Board?
Any more questions? Innovation?
All right,
Okay.
so we're gonna move forward with the emergency connectivity fund.
Through the CARES Act, the FCC developed a $7.8 $1.7 billion program called the Emergency Connectivity Fund. What this fund allows school districts and public libraries to do is to have the opportunity to provide students that have connectivity issues. And what they're defining connectivity issues is students that, unless they're at school, have no reasonable access to internet or technology at home. Now, this is not based on just virtual. This does not mean that this is just for kids. Like last year, we went virtual, they needed something at home. This is for a student, whether it's face-to-face, virtual, or some type of hybrid. But this is an opportunity to level the playing field for children that do not have reasonable access to technology once they leave the school campus. Ma'am?
So the cell phone, is that taken into consideration?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. So, and since we are an E-rate school, we qualify for this program, or qualify to apply for this program. And it will cover reasonable costs of laptops, tablet computers, Wi-Fi hotspots, modems, routers, broadband connectivity purchases for off-campus use by students, school staff, library patrons. And who is eligible? As schools and libraries and other organizations that participate in the E-rate program. Mr. Bullock and I found out about this in the middle of June, before the window opened at the end of June, and we worked with our E-rate consultant, Ms. Janine, and we started going through, can we qualify? What do we need? How do we collect our data? Those type of things. So we started the process in the middle of June. On June 29th, when the application process opened, Ms. Hurley went through and we started compiling the information that we compiled, giving it to her, and then she started going through the application. So we worked, of course, to get price quotes from CDWG, Office Depot, Office Max, Staples, and our provider for this district for cellular Wi-Fi service, of course, is United States Cellular. So we worked with all those parties to go through. Like I said, it's with eligible equipment. It includes like Wi-Fi hotspots, modems, including air cards, routers, all those types of things. So we went through, we worked on the application, and then we came to this point. Does Martin County Schools qualify to participate? Yes, through the E-rate program. Now, one thing that is different from the traditional E-rate program, under E-rate, we either have to come up with 10% for the monthly bill, like what we pay for our internet in Martin County Schools through MCNC, or we have to come up 15% for E-rate, like when we're wiring the Innovation Campus, we have to come up with, for the Innovation Campus, $86,000, we come up with 15% of that, and the federal takes care of that. For this program, we don't have to come up with any money, any percentage. Is this a guarantee of being awarded what we apply? And the answer is no. So it's just like a grant application or anything else. We go through the application process and we apply. Are other NC school districts participating in applying? Yes. We know of 22 that Ms. Hurley has helped work with so far to apply, or will be number 23 of the groups. And it's Hyde County. She's also worked all the way up to Chatham County. So it's a variety of districts. Yes, ma'am.
Who's Ms. Hurley?
She's our E-rate person that we hired last school year to help us go through. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. We used data connectivity surveys. We had 3 surveys that were compiled at the beginning of the pandemic all the way through to recently. The most recent one is the one that Mr. Wagner did with the return to schools to gauge what our percentage is. Ms. Kenyon ran through the National School Lunch Reporting information, gave us our percentage, and what we worked out is about 35% of our students would qualify for that, which for us, at our numbers, turns out to be, we can apply for 961 Lenovo 300E Chromebooks, 961 US Cellular hotspots. And so what we'll do is, which if just for numbers sake, that's $286,000, $286,000 approximately in Chromebooks, not approximately what did in Chromebooks, $96,000 in hotspots, and then $24,000 a month to cover those hotspots, the monthly rate. And they're capped at 22 gig. But one of the things that Ms. Hurley is able to do that's going to help us out tremendously is we didn't have to fill out a bear form, which means that we don't have to pay up front and then get reimbursed. She's helped us work it so if we get approved for this program, USAC will write the check to CDWG because they were the lowest bidder, and US Cellular. So the money we don't have to come in, do POs, all this other stuff. They will pay them directly, and the technology and the equipment comes to us. So that's another savings to the district. And then finally, when will this equipment arrive is after I present to y'all, I'm going to go let Ms. Hurley know to go for it. And so she'll submit it tonight, and then the application goes in, and then we wait. It could be a couple of weeks up through Labor Day, somewhere in that ball, because this is a nationwide deal. And as soon as we get our information back, if we're approved for it, then they start ordering. We get the stuff in, we start distributing it to students. And I've already talked with principals, and they're making lists now of students that would qualify for it. So computer comes in, we format them, we get them out to the kids.
How about the public libraries? Are they getting it too?
I don't know.
You said it was for libraries.
Yes, ma'am. If they choose to apply, yes, ma'am.
So are these children's personal computers they get to keep?
They use them for the year. They'll check them out for the school year. So whenever we get them, they'll be there till the end of school.
Okay, so they check them out and bring them back.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
At the end of the year.
This is school equipment, Madam Chair and Board. And also, one of the things is that we are to track, correct, the use and accessibility to the internet. So it comes with some conditions, but I think it's a great advantage to our students that need it the most.
So it's proper use.
Yes, yeah, in total use. Yeah. It won't circumvent our filters, I feel pretty strongly, but the issue is, since the funding is providing all of this money for accessibility, that we track actual accessibility.
Now, last year, we had some people that the hotspots didn't help because they didn't have cell phones. What are we doing about that?
That will continue to be a struggle. I think that we've had several community meetings with county commissioners. Was very much participated in those meetings as well with community college myself. That doesn't solve that problem.
It does.
No, ma'am.
Yeah.
I thought if you could afford the cell phone, but you're saying cell phones don't work everywhere in the county?
We still have some areas in the county where there's no connectivity or limited.
So the hotspot, will connect to the computers, not to a cell phone.
It's like with the computer is actually connecting to the hotspot, but connectivity is going to be a test in some areas.
Yes.
So he's still saying that some areas they're not going to be able to use the computer.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is not money to build towers or lay fiber optic cable lines. This is equipment for students.
So help me understand hotspots. I don't know what purpose and all of that.
Basically, what it does, just like your cell phone, it takes in a cell phone signal, and then it links it to the laptop, to the Chromebook.
Okay.
And so they talk back and forth, and so we'll link them together. Mr. Bullock, what he will do is once we get the hotspots in, he plugs them into his computer, and he puts all of the filters and everything just like as if they were on campus. And also what that does is that also helps control with data to reduce the temptation of looking at Netflix or those type of things. Just to cut it straight to.
So hotspot connects with cell tower.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Power thing. So
US Cellular still hadn't got enough towers.
a lot of the cell providers do not have enough towers in rural areas in general.
Sure look like it'd be worth their money to me.
So Mr. Garber, you said there was what, $2,400 a month to connect with hotspots?
$24,000 a month, yes, ma'am, to run those 961 hotspots.
So that's buying data for the use of the hotspot?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it unlimited data?
No, ma'am, it's 22 gigabytes.
I don't understand none of that.
It's limited, then after 22, it slows down, but 22 is more than enough, if it's used like it's supposed to. And what we've done, like with things like, if we're virtual Google Meet, is Mr. Bullock has turned down Google Meet a little bit, so that way it doesn't stream as much data. And like, for example, I took one home, and Elijah and I used it at home for a month, just to give it a test run. And we used it wide open, he used it every day, and then I used it at nights and on the weekends, just with my school stuff, and we use like 10 gigs of data. So if you're using it for schoolwork and what you need to do, 22 is plenty. even if you watch some YouTube videos, because those come in at 480. And so resolution, a lower resolution, so they don't chew up a bunch of data. Yes, ma'am.
Will it cut off once they reach the limit? Or,
It slows down, just like our stuff. Like I have an unlimited plan with US Cellular. If you read the fine print, it says I get 40 gigs, it'll back off. Same type of thing. It still works and you can still do things, it's just a lot slower. Slow becomes slower.
I think in other words, for our students, if they reach that much usage, we probably have to investigate what is the use yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
But the whole excitement about this, it won't cost Martin County School a penny.
If we're approved, yes, ma'am.
It's not guaranteed, we have to apply.
But Mr. George, the approval, you named all those counties, do we know of any? You know, you said Hyde and all the way up to Chatham. Do we know of any that have been approved, not just applied?
Well, we're all applying in this same window. So a bunch of us are doing the application at the same time. So we have not, the only thing we've seen is that, things that like to look out for, like don't apply for this, don't apply for that. So in other words, they don't kick your application back to you. Or say, hey, we need more information. And that's the good thing about our E-rate consultant is they've done all a lot of the footwork. So we just had to get the data and then keep those things going, then keep, like we talked about, keep track of them when they return. Or not when they return, when they go out, to get them back.
And how soon should we know?
Miss Hurley said 10 days at the quickest, but hopefully by Labor Day at the worst. Depends on how many districts and how many folks. It's like everybody's pushing their applications into a pipeline and then just they pull them out and start going through them.
So how long is this grant?
Through this year.
The 2022
Yes, ma'am.
school year.
And then we collect everything back, and then we kind of get, for lack of a better way to say it, we just kind of get further guidance of what we can do with the computers past that point, and then we'll have the hot spots collected back. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Board, we're at our last item, and this is the NC School Kit or Return to School Procedures. For many of our parents and staff listening, they are looking forward to this conversation because they refer to it as a face mask conversation. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wagner.
Good evening again. Madam Chair, board members. Back in June of 2020, the first guidance from the North Carolina and the Department of Health and Human Services in conjunction with CDC came out to the schools in reference dealing with the COVID in school systems. And this was the Strong Schools North Carolina Public Health Toolkit. And that came back out in June of 2020. Since June of 2020, North Carolina and Department of Health and Human Services have updated the toolkit many times. However, on July 21st, 2021, this was the first time that the districts received information providing updates for the upcoming 21-22 school year. And on July 29th, the toolkit was updated again from July 21st, and then on July 29th, updated again to provide a more robust information regarding vaccinations and recommendations. Basically, on this one went for all to wear a mask while inside the school setting. Something I think is important to know is that the language in the toolkits prior to July 21st was written using the words required and recommended. The language now reads should and could. Okay? So basically, the state is putting the responsibility of children coming back into the schools into the hands of our board, our local school board. The new school guidelines are not mandates, but a set of recommendations for the local school boards to use to make their own decisions on what to do when students return to the classroom. These new recommendations became available on July 30th. Just some general information that came out that things were taken out of the guidelines that we had that were removed. I just kind of wanted to give you a highlight of those. They took out limiting non-essential visitors, and this means that after July 30th, visitors are welcome and to return back into the school setting. They said discontinue activities that bring a large group together, such as field trips or assemblies, so allowing for those things to take place again. Keeping students in small cohorts, and that to allow so that we could get children back into classrooms and having them in somewhat of larger settings. Direct the flow of traffic by designating hallways as one way or certain doors as entrance. And so they are saying that you no longer have to have those things in place. Sort of like if you go to the grocery store and you saw where one lane goes this way, that way. It said that's not necessary at this time. Recommending that everyone wears face coverings outside. They took that out of this. Keeping students' personal items separate. They took that out. And that's sort of like students using cubby holes, students using lockers, those types of things. They took out the language of conducting daily symptoms screening. They took that language out. They also took the language out of enforcing social distancing on transportation. They took out the language in referencing to providing remote learning options for students unable to be in school due to illness or exposure. They also took out the requirements of having plan A, B, and C in there. So those are some things that came out of it. The major updates that came into it were the information about vaccines and students, particularly ages 12 and above, getting vaccines. And then the major issue, which we're probably going to discuss tonight, are about these school masks. On the first day of school, one of the big issues is wearing a mask, face coverings, or not wearing them. The new guidance offers only suggestions to the school board. It does say in the guidance, I'd like to just read to you under it says it uses the word where it used to read required, it uses the word all schools should require all children and staff in schools K-12 grade to wear face coverings consistently while indoors. Okay, that's the way it reads at this time. About a week and a half ago, it was a little bit different. It was K-8 should all students and staff. Students 9-12, it read that they should optionally wear it if they've been vaccinated or not, depending on vaccination. And that changed on the 29th to all schools should require that all students and staff K-12 to wear face coverings consistently. So basically, the school board has two choices in this option, and it is to wear a mask for all students and all staff, or to make them optional. There may be some other options. I'm not that when I look at it, I just don't see that there's really a whole lot of other options in this. I did provide to you a memo that came out from our health director. Okay, he sent it out to me today, so I printed it off. I gave it to you with that. I will tell you that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, my recommendation would have been to, just as a personal from me, it would have been mask optional. Lots of things have changed since then. So I'm just not, I'm not real sure on that, but I wanted to make sure that you had the information that what are the changes in this toolkit. I don't think anybody wants to wear a mask any more than, but I know that my main concern in this is I would like to see children back in school in a face-to-face setting. That's my main concern. How we get them there, I'm good with that. But, Fonseca, if you'd like to add anything.
Echo everything that Mr. White.
I'm sorry, hold on. Do you have the email based on Dr. Fonseca sending out on Thursday or Friday, which had what Mr. Gray had on what CDC and all of them recommend? Dr. Fonseca, we're researching the email that was forwarded to us from Dr. Dr. Bragg, concerning the recommendation from CDC that we received from you probably Tuesday, or Thursday, or Friday of last week. That was at the bottom of his email. Mr. Wagner, you don't have a copy for the board for the North Carolina School Kit guidelines?
I can certainly give you one in the email that, I know that Dr. Fonseca, I saw it, a while back when he said it was copied to you, digitally, and, it was also, a link to it in an email that went out to you, last Monday. It was referenced in that.
We've sent it,
Pages.
we've sent it multiple times electronically. Would you like for us to make a copy?
Please, because
Okay.
then we could go along, follow along with the CDC requirements and instead of asking a question, we can look at it and go through the process.
Mr. Wagner,
Yes, ma'am.
quick question. During the summer, were they optional for the students?
No, ma'am.
They were mandatory?
No, there was a mask mandate in place by the governor until July 30th. At July 30th, the mask mandate that he had ended, and then it basically allowed, the toolkit was updated. It's very strong about their recommendations, but the language has changed, which basically leaves the power of this to the local school board.
Were there any problems this summer? That's my basic.
We had no students to test positive.
Did they mind wearing, I mean, was there an issue with it?
Well, that's a different question, okay? I will tell you that there are students and parents who do not like wearing it. Some people probably did not come to summer school because of the mask, but the kids who were in school with the mask did fine, okay? The ones who were there in school with it. I've had probably myself about 4 or 5 phone calls that do not want their child back in school for any reason whatsoever if they've got to wear a mask. I've had that. I've also had 4 or 5 phone calls the exact opposite, saying, why would you put children back in school right now? There's a lot of people using the word, and I will bring this up, right now, knowing that, things could change, because we're going up, but if things come back. So, I mean, you have that. And to be fair, but I haven't had 20 phone calls, but I've had about 4 or 5 on each side. And that would be fair to say.
Passionate either way.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, oh, yeah, I, from what's come to me, it's been about a 50-50.
Yeah.
And the health department recommends that we should follow the CDC and state guidance that says we should adopt a masking policy for all students.
That's what Wes Gray, the director, did send you.
As of today.
I'm ready to vote. I don't need to see it through people.
We're not going
We're not voting yet. It's
Okay.
gonna come in. Is there more discussion on, from my perspective, I'm gonna give everybody an opportunity.
Yes.
Uh,
You can ask them about this.
Mr. Brandon, you have something to say?
I do. As you guys know, I have the opportunity of hindsight being 2020, because I represent several boards throughout North Carolina. And some of the things I have seen recently is folks who were moving quickly 2-3 weeks ago are regretting that decision today, mostly because guidance changed quickly and overnight. One of those pieces of guidance is the quarantining exceptions that exist in the toolkit. And I want to outline those for you guys because I think it matters. Because one of the concerns I've heard is continuity of face-to-face learning. What you guys saw a lot in the spring and the fall, to some degree, and you will likely see some more this coming fall, is isolations for exposures and quarantines. Now the volume of that is going to, that is neighborhood, community specific, but the exceptions to that. So I think it's important for you guys to understand that there are 3 exceptions now to whether or not you have to quarantine after an exposure that did not exist before July 21. The first is if you are fully vaccinated and you have no symptoms, you are not required to quarantine after an exposure. The second one is if you have had COVID-19 in the past 3 months and you do not have symptoms, you do not have to quarantine. The third, and probably the most relevant to the face mask conversation, is that if a person who is confirmed positive or presumed positive to have COVID-19 is properly wearing a mask, and the person that they are quote unquote exposing, and remember, exposure has a very definite definition under the toolkit. That means that you have been in close contact with that individual for 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. Okay? So that's the definition. So if that happens and those individuals are wearing masks, the person who is exposed does not have to quarantine as long as they are not experiencing symptoms.
The third category, Brandon,
Yes, ma'am.
is social distancing. A caveat, was it just a 15 minutes of break?
It's just a 15 minutes, within 6 feet. Within 6
So it
feet.
is.
Yeah. Sorry.
If you're outside of 6 feet.
If you're outside of 6 feet, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
But no, it's within 6 feet.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. I'm sorry, I left that part out.
The thing that why that becomes important is that if you were to say mask optional, and one student is wearing masks, the other student is not wearing a mask, and somebody is positive, then they both have to quarantine in that situation.
Oh, it's real, it happened today, at, another setting, professional setting.
So by wearing masks, you're apt not to have to quarantine if you're vaccinated. Or wearing a mask.
I think it is safe to say that you will have less quarantines, or it's less likely to have quarantines if there is a masking requirement in place. I'm
That's
not-
what I'm saying.
I think that's a continuity of face-to-face learning issue, but that is, I will tell you, when DHHS was putting that out, the reason that exemption exists was to be the carrot for masking. I mean, that was the theory. Nobody has had any qualms about saying that. It's, you want face-to-face learning? We're gonna make it optional, but the optional portion of it is, if you do masking, you're far less likely to have to quarantine. Now, I will say the people who wrote these rules don't exactly know as much about school as I think they do. Because one of the problems is, when you have kids in a cafeteria, one of the exceptions for not having a mask on is eating. And you're typically in a cafeteria for at least 15 minutes.
So it's automatically going to get you in that situation. So, I mean, and I think it's important to note that, you have people around us doing different things. You have people across the state doing things. Lots of people are rushing, and making decisions towards mask optional. And last week, all of a sudden, it was mask optional, and then you started seeing some things changing. There are some folks who are even deciding to wait later, and trying not to make the decision so soon. Those things to see if anything changes. So,
Well, it's like to me, if it does any changing, it's gonna get worse, so. I'd like to see us proactive and deciding early. Well,
One thing to add, Mr. Wagner reminded me of, we don't have a meeting scheduled for August the 16th, but we have a meeting reserved. So if things move in either direction, you could call a meeting on that day. Right now, we don't have anything scheduled for that day. But August 16th,
it's our work session. Is
it's
that what you're
a
talking
work
about?
session. We don't have one right now currently scheduled. But if you were to make or change any decisions, we already have something set on the calendar.
And
Just
when's
something
the
to
children's
add.
first day of school.
the 23rd.
So we're looking at 15 days of whether the numbers, whether North Carolina, Martin County is still in the red or not by that time. Okay, all right, so it's an action item. Any more discussion?
When did the teachers start? What's their first day?
So the new teachers begin this coming week. They have orientation starting on the 10th. Our, our return to school will be the following week.
17.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have to think about the teachers too?
Correct, yes.
I think we need to go and decide tonight.
Well, we will decide tonight. We will make a
I was
decision.
scared y'all were gonna say put it off till the 16th.
No,
No, no,
we will
if-
make a decision tonight, but if we need to change it, we have the
Yes,
16th
okay.
before students come back to school.
That's what's on the calendar, Madam Chair, if I'm interrupting again. What I was gonna say then also is, you can also call a meeting at any time.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
48 hours notice.
48 hours, okay?
48 hours notice for a special meeting.
All right, any more discussion? It's a great place to do it then. Okay, closed session, Ms.
Madam Chair, I move the Martin County Board of Education in a closed session subject to the advice from the attorney pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1 and A6 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information under GS 115C-319 and to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee. The board will go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to consider confidential student matters as provided in the North Carolina Statute 143.318.11A1 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G and North Carolina Statute 115C-402.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Ms. Cargill, all in favor, show of hands. So we're going to closed session. So
It can be a single motion as long as it lists Are we transmitting?
Yes,
back
you
on?
guys leave the closed session minutes in your green folder. Okay, we're back into open session. Next thing on our agenda, excuse me, is the personnel report. Can I get a motion to accept the personnel report?
Sunday.
Ms. Cargile?
Second.
Mr. Heath, all in favor, show of hands. So moved. Legal service RFP. As you notice, you have in front of you, one of the pros and cons of this is Swartz and Charles.
Yeah, this is the document that was requested by Ms. Cargon, so it would be the retainer amount per month is samples. So during the work session, you discussed the firms that had applied.
Okay, Ms. Cargile?
So how much is it a month?
So, Ms. Carter, if you go across the top, the retainer amount per month goes across the top, depending on which option the board would choose. And so, that is.
We already decided what we'd like you to be here, not for our work session, but for our, didn't,
No, ma'am, let him finish. He's talking about the retainer fee right now.
he was talking about which option we want.
Which one you?
I was just explaining how the structure works.
Okay.
So
I'm
just
sorry,
generally,
Ms. Cargile.
she asked me about where the retainer amounts were, and I said they're at the top of the page. And there are options A through G listed at the top. And for each item, there's a single asterisk behind things that are included in that retainer amount. For example, the $2,000 per month retainer gets attendance included in that $2,000 a month of a board attorney, me at the board meeting, barring some unusual occurrence, like, you know, if I have the birth of a child and I miss a board meeting, I'm very sorry for you.
We might excuse.
But, for example, one per month, and then it would include 4 workshops for free because you're paying $2,000 a month. Any additional workshops beyond that 4 workshops that are included would be $3,000 a piece. And you get billed at $195 per hour, blended a rate for both associates and partners.
That what we wanted to know when we were discussing it was,
Yes, sir.
are we, the one per month, that's coming to the board meeting, we won't be charged in addition $195 an hour.
That's exactly right. That
So
attendance at one board
for
meeting.
all, it would be $2,000.
Yes, ma'am. $2,000.
No, nothing more unless we wanted you to teach us a workshop.
Yes, ma'am. And unless the district calls me and I.
Well, sure, unless something extra.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, just me coming here and being at your board meetings, $2,000 a month covers me here every month, and 4 workshops for the district or for the board to have some professional development. Because we have a whole.
So the $195 would be for anything extra.
That's exactly.
Okay, that's
So-
what we were discussing the other night.
Personnel investigations, EC, you know.
Right.
Anything that I get pulled in on, that would be the rate.
So if we do not have 4 workshops per month,
No, 4 for a year. You have 4 workshops
per year.
for a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so if you'll see in the first column there, it says half-day workshop presentations, and then in parentheses, it says annual.
Okay.
That's, you get 4 workshops, half-day workshops included, and that is done on an annual basis. You get your 4 for the entire year. And so those typically get spread out, and it depends on the feeling of the superintendent of the board. Some folks like to do a beginning of year retreat with the board and the board attorney to walk through a series of things before the board gets started. Some folks like to do, one day or a half day training with the board attorney and your administration at the beginning of the year. It generally is just whatever the administration and the board feel like they need. And then we respond and provide whatever that is. Whether it's training for the board, training for teachers, training for the administration, it's whatever you guys decide.
So we're gonna pay for 4 of them, so we just soon have you 4 times, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I encourage you, use all of your workshops. Always use all your workshops.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, your administration or the board, you will get something from it, and you'll be better prepared for something else.
Right. And you're not gonna charge us for every phone call that Dr. Fonseca calls you, right?
Not every single one, no. It'll be, if he calls me and there's a legal issue, I'm gonna bill you for it. But if it's, let me check something quickly.
Right.
Did this happen at the board meeting?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, that's not something I'm gonna ask for.
Okay, can I call this for another vote?
Not yet.
Okay.
I got another question.
Yes, sir.
The included meetings, does that include travel or is travel extra?
So, travel time. Okay, and so that's why the asterisk is really important. So if you see, service for this item is included in the retainer, but not billed separately, including travel time. So me getting in the car and getting here and charging you guys the travel time isn't included. Now,
You say it isn't or it is?
yeah, the travel time. So if it takes me, X number of hours to get here, I'm not billing you that time.
Okay,
That's included in the 2,000.
that's what we thought, okay. But we were questioning that.
Right.
Yes.
Now, when you see expenses, that is different.
When you might pay your gas.
Gas and meals. But see, the great thing about meals is you guys feed me when I'm here. So I've got an option.
If you get here early enough to eat, you sure do.
That's right. So if you guys would like me, I will happily eat with you, or I will
We'd
eat
like you
separately
to.
from you, but that's up to you guys. I'm not gonna, that's,
So, I want to call a vote. We have 2 people to 2 firms.
The Bro firm is the other firm that you evaluate.
And Schwartz and
Shaw.
Shaw.
Mhm.
So can they ask for a,
Madam Chair, I move that we go with Sports and Shaw. Second.
second? All in favor of Schwartz and Shaw?
Question. Are we gonna take a separate vote on which option?
I think we should. Tonight, I thought we were just doing the RFP, and then we decide what
Okay,
services we
okay.
want.
Then I'm ready to vote.
y'all can do it however you want to do it.
Yeah, we just,
So,
my recommendation.
so I got a motion and a second. All in favor of Schwartz and Shaw? Show of hands. Okay, so 6.
Now, are we guaranteed to get you, Brandon?
Yes, ma'am, do you want me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, like I said, barring birth of a child, you got me.
All right, now, so
I will say
So my question is to the board. So my question is to the board is, what option we go with now, or should we wait on?
I think we already know.
On the determined factor of, recommendation from the superintendent?
I think we should study it and, include Mr. Harold. That's my opinion.
Okay.
For what? Consider what?
What option we should
Oh,
go with?
okay.
Mr. Harold.
So I want to say, I want to put on the floor, should we table the option until, we get all board members here.
I'll move that we table choosing the option until we have all board members present.
A second.
All in favor, show of hands. So moved. Thank you. All right, next thing is our SRO. Dr. Fonseca.
For your approval, Madam Chair and Board, is the MOU to increase the funding request from the Sheriff's Department.
So I make a motion, the sheriff is requesting, $3,000 to provide a supervisor for our sites, for SRO. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Mr. Van Hees? Can I get a second? Second, Ms. Cargil. All in favor of the increase of 3,000? 5. All opposed? No opposed, no abstaining? 5.
Did Ms. Purvis not vote? I can't see. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, the North Carolina school kit.
So the last item is the NC school kit or return to school procedures. So up for your vote is how to go back to school. Based on the recommendations heard earlier, the board has to now make a decision.
So right now, we have to decide where we require all teachers and students to combat mask.
Madam Chair, I move that we
Keep in mind that we do have a opportunity on the 16th if things changes. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second, Mr. Scott, all in favor, show of hands. 2, all opposed. 4. So we'll go from here. So we, get another motion.
Yeah, potentially another motion. That's the
Can I
next
get
step.
another motion that we go mandatory until,
I make a motion that we have mandatory, the way things are going now, I think mandatory. I think we should follow the recommendations of the state and the county, that we should, wear a mask for everybody, to keep everybody safe.
the recommendation of CDC?
Question, is this also included in when sports start up, that kids would practice on the inside, got to wear a mask while practice?
No, we haven't gotten that specific, we're just saying in school.
It's part of it.
Well, can we let the superintendent, what is your recommendation? I thought
We
the
usually go by the
recommendation was for
athletic
schools. Yeah,
association.
Yeah, it's too
Not
many things.
necessarily.
Well, I think that's what we
Everybody
all
left
do.
up to the school, so.
No.
Yes, it is.
Athletic.
Well, let Dr. Fonseca, what state your recommendation?
Dr. Fonseca, can you answer Mrs. Scott's question?
So once again, what we said earlier was 3 weeks ago, no, I mean, hands down, 2 weeks ago, last week even. The recommendation from us was optional. Things have changed. The only recommendation we can make is that whatever decision you all make, we can reevaluate on the 16th.
I'm sorry, but I thought the question was, is this for the classroom or are we talking that in athletics?
So that's the decision of the board.
So we need a different.
Well, let me redo my
All right.
motion. I make a motion as far as classwork in school. We follow the recommendations of masking. And in that, let's say, let the North Carolina Athletic Association decide what they should do for sports. That's what we did last year.
Is it lawyer? Is that working?
Well, I was gonna read it back to you guys before you voted on it, because I want to make sure everybody understands exactly what the motion is as best as I understand it. If you guys, want to fix it, Madam Motion Maker, Ms. Cargill, you tell me. I move to follow the recommendations of CDC and NCDHHS. I think that's right, Ms. Cargill. In the Strong Schools Toolkit regarding classrooms.
Should.
Key is classroom.
What was that, Ms. Smith?
Our question is this, my question to you,
Yes.
Mr. McPherson,
Yes, ma'am.
is it workable? Can we have, masks for in-school classroom within the building? And what are we required to do for athletic and sports, particularly now since they are in the process of, are doing the sports thing?
I would tell you legally, you can make whatever standards you want to make for
Okay.
athletics. That is, because the High School Athletic Association is not spoken.
Okay.
They haven't said anything.
They haven't said anything. Here's the only thing they have said. Whatever the rules are during a competition out of district, the visiting team must comply with the rules of the home district.
Okay.
So that is the, now, I have heard whispers that we should anticipate guidance from the High School Athletic Association, and as a member school, generally speaking, you don't have a whole lot of control at the high school level. Middle schools are different. I would say middle schools are regulated by DPI, but generally speaking, once you sort of adopt high school rules, you typically apply those to the middle school because that's easy. But that is the latest and greatest masking, as I understand it. And folks are all over the board, frankly, as far as what they're doing with athletics. I'll just be a bit, volleyball's in the fall, that's an indoor sport. A lot of your other sports are indoors, but they will sometimes come.
We're talking about during the school day though.
Yes.
Indoors in the
that's the
school
motion.
day. So it might be a gym class. If they're inside, they might have to wear a mask.
So are you rewording
No.
your motion? What's your motion, Ms. Cardell, again?
So
Can you read that?
Wait.
Mr. McPherson?
So the remainder of the motion is, I move to follow the recommendation of CDC and NCDHHS in classrooms during the school day and to follow the North Carolina High School Athletic Association's recommendations
For sports,
for
outside of school hours, we can add that.
The only thing, because we currently don't have any recommendations for high school
But
athletics.
it's when they come, if you want to say when to.
You know, once
When they
released. Is that
Yes,
fair?
once released.
Once released.
So question. So that means that, let me understand that during this time now that the students are in athletics, whatever decision we make tonight means that if we do not make that, clear that up, that if we have masks in school, they have to have masks while they're playing sports. But if we make a recommendation that only in the classroom and not, and the guidance of the director of the school to determine mask with the sports.
You've basically left a question unanswered. If the High School Athletic Association hasn't spoken yet, you've addressed the classroom issue. You haven't answered the High School Athletic Association issue because frankly, there's no guidance at this point. So that would mean tomorrow.
Whenever they make a recommendation, or if.
Yeah, well, that's right.
That's what they'll follow.
That's not what I was saying.
Yeah, and so what you're gonna have is, under the current motion, you've not answered the question as what happens in your high schools with athletics indoors.
My question was, this is my question. If whatever decision we decide to go mass in the classroom, can we also say that we can leave it up to the directors, to the sports directors to determine whether they can have option of mass? That's my question.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. That is.
That,
It is
Ms.
literally.
Cardell, are you comfortable with
I
that?
understood that, yes.
Okay.
Okay, can I get that said again?
Is the motion modified to leave it in the discretion of the directors regarding high school athletics? Or
Yes.
athletics in general, not just high school athletics?
Our school athletics directors, our directors.
Not just high school.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, our sports directors for our students. Let them use the discretion of option,
Okay.
but classroom, this is what we're saying, Ms. Cardell?
Mm-hmm.
Our classroom will mandatory mask in school, but directors, sports directors will have the discretion of using. Mr. Wagner?
Can I, just for clarification, as to, will this begin tomorrow? Because if we're talking tomorrow, this will be for staff, and students who are.
This is when school starts, I think.
All right, so that's, well, that.
Is this where are we at? I thought this was supposed to be,
It's for
the
new
old
school.
mandate was in at July 30th.
Right.
And so what we're voting on now begins August 1.
That would be up to Ms. Cardell, because she made a motion.
I thought it would be when the new school year begins, when the new teachers come.
So the 10th of August.
Yeah, I believe that's what we said.
And 17th for regular student,
Uh-huh.
teachers, and then the 23rd for all school students.
Now, and I'd also like to see that, no, I ain't going no further.
So effective August 10th.
I mean, I personally think that's better because we are making a change. And
Right, for the
we
new
need to
year,
allow
new
time.
school
If
year.
if the motion wins, I just don't see flipping tomorrow.
Part of my clarification is that high school athletics began today. Okay, it was the first day, and so they'll be in practices tomorrow. You know, they
But
may.
this doesn't affect them.
Well, it kind of does, but I mean, it really does. So, because we get, basically, you're saying that myself.
I'm talking about for the school hours inside.
Okay,
school.
okay, all right.
Maybe we should let Mr. Wagner finish.
Okay. I had a phone call that came to me today, that basically asked, you know, we had football practice outside, volleyball inside. And my answer to them was, until the board made a decision, we were gonna follow the current guidelines of what we've been using. And that was when our students were inside the building, you know, whether they were inside or not, they were gonna do masks. Once we had a decision tonight, we can go. Now, if you wanna say that our students' first day is on August 6th, teachers' first day is August 16th, the students are on the 23rd. If this starts, you know, on, say, the 16th, then you've got roughly 2 weeks of practice that we can just say it does not apply to one way or another. Or so I just wanted to make sure, but it does affect, because once we leave here, if this becomes a decision, because then the athletic directors, myself and Dr. Fonseca, we have to make a decision as to which, you know, how we're going to handle that starting for.
I thought my motion left it open that if you were anything sports outside of the school day.
Yeah, but we're looking at the date. We're looking at the date should be effective as of today, the 10th or the 17th. We're looking at the date.
I guess when you're dealing with students, it would be the 17th.
Yes, but we're looking at the whole school, and that already don't started with athletic stuff. So I would recommend that we do it immediately as of August 2nd.
We have,
August 3rd.
I was under the impression we're not telling the athletes to mask up.
We're leaving it to the discretion of the director and Dr. Fonseca. So, but we need a date. Yes, ma'am, you're right.
Okay.
But we need a date.
It would be
And
great that the students come to school, but if it's, because we're not telling the athletes
Yes, ma'am.
next year to wear a mask outside.
So
We're
you're
saying
trying-
wait till they get a.
Well, outside's not, outside is not what I'm concerned.
I said during the school day, inside during the school day. Isn't that what I said, Brandon?
It is, that is correct.
Ms. Carr, can I recommend that we do it August the 3rd, because then it will cover everything that you're talking about.
And then the athletic directors and Dr. Fonseca and Mr. McGill, and we can get together and we'll have a decision very quickly on that part. So that's not
So
a
you're
problem.
saying let them until.
Effective, yeah, we're making the
We get
decision on August 3rd, but let them run with the process.
Okay.
Okay, so can I get a motion to include the date for
So
the date as of August 3rd?
August 3rd. Right, say the whole thing.
So as
We can read it, I mean.
Read it for me. Brandon.
He's finished.
I'm rewriting it to make sure it's right, so.
So may I just ask the question and why he's rewriting it? Because now, Mr. Wagner, I'm confused for my person. Okay, so being transparent, we've all been contacted by inside sports, specifically volleyball. So
I
well, we received emails on that. Anyway, so what I'm trying to follow is, I'm with the recommendation to follow CBC in school. But now you're saying, based upon us, whether if this motion passes, then you would be recommending, you and Dr. Fonseca for inside sports. Are we saying that the volleyball team would have to wear more?
that's it,
I
let
want,
the director
what he's gonna
decide.
say, I just wanna go over, because I'm not for it. My vote will be based upon what will happen during the school day. So
That's what I thought we were doing instructions.
I did too.
So the question, and that's, I'm glad you're asking, if you have a concern, because the question would be simple. Masks are optional for athletics, or masks are mandated for athletics inside. Okay, that's what it would come up. I mean, the truth is that, Dr. Fonseca and I would meet with Coach McGill and, our two ADs at the high schools, and we would make a recommendation from there. Okay, or, I mean, that's what would come from that, and it would come out, it would be one of those two options. Mask mandated inside or mask optional, for.
Your motion,
For sports outside of school day.
Right, for indoor sports, outside of sports, right, outside of the school day, correct.
Right. And that's what I thought, that was my goal. But you just deal with the school day. Inside the school.
Dr. Fonseca?
I was just gonna say, in your motion, you're directing, myself, Mr. Wagner, to meet with athletic directors. And Ms. Fergus is looking for an answer right now about what the decision is going to be. So under the current motion, we will meet with them, and then we will share that decision with the board, certainly, and our students and families.
Okay. Renee, you
Right
like
now, when would that be? When would you be able to make that decision? How quickly?
I would like to have a meeting tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And have a decision on that.
Mr. McPherson, can you read the motion so that we can, vote up, give a second on it?
Good luck on that motion.
Almost done, Madam Chair. Okay. Proposed motion. I move effective August 3rd, 2021, the Martin County Schools follow CDC and NCDHHS recommendations during the typical school hours. And the masking requirements for athletics and other extracurriculars will be decided by MCS superintendent and directors. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Any
Right,
questions?
Ms. Carter? So can I get a second on that? Can I move for a second?
I second.
Second, Ms. Renee, all in favor, show your hands. All opposed? So moved. You get that, Ms. Scott?
I think so.
So our next is, can I get a recommendation to accept the closed minute, but do not disclose them because of confidential information? Yes, all three together. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Heath?
Second.
Ms. Masson, all in favor, show of hands. So moved. Superintendent comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. We are excited about the upcoming year. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our teachers who participated in summer school, our staff who participated in summer school. We have everybody from custodians, bus drivers, teachers, teacher assistants, cafeteria staff, administrators, etc. I'm probably forgetting some, but I just want to thank them for what they did. I think that we had a great summer school session under the leadership, all combined, of Mrs. Wagner and her team, and our different administrators that were at each building. I want to thank you for your support and your leadership. We're excited about the results that we saw with the students that were able to participate. We wish that more students had participated, but what we saw was very good. We're excited about the credit recovery efforts of our teachers, particularly at the high school level, and our principals at the high school level as well. We sent you that information from both schools, so great things happening. So we're excited about that. So just kudos to all of them for a great summer session, what I think was a great summer session. We appreciate your leadership, and we are wrapping up some things for the summer. We have about just one more week before new teachers come back, 2 weeks before regular teachers come back. So we're excited about the 21-22 school year. Just a reminder that on the 5th, we have our first listening session at South Creek High School. 6:30 is the first session. If anybody can attend, if you're not, there will be other opportunities to attend. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Board comment? Thank you, Dr. Fonseca. Mr. Van Heat?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
I just appreciate all the presentation tonight. It has a lot of good information, and just be safe going on.
Ms. Carter? Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Scott. Ms. Madison?
I'd like to thank our presenters for tonight, and I look forward to Mr. McGill and Ms. Byrd. I look forward to their actions in getting parents involved. And of course, everybody who participated tonight.
Ms. Curtis?
I would like to personally thank Mr. Litt for keeping the name of Zion Lawrence, in the forefront. Also, I agree with Dr. Fonseca. Shout out to the Summer Recovery Success Stories. We heard tonight that we had 4 Martin County School graduates and 227 courses. And also kudos to our newest director, Dr. Sense the Energy from Mr. McGill and Ms. Bird. And I really, really appreciate Mr. Wagner. I realize we don't have Westbury or Julia Thomas, but just your research, just you being aware of what was going on, keeping current. To me, this is serious. I realize the mask may not be comfortable, but I would take COVID mitigation over comfort.
Kudos to Ms. Manson and to Ms. Purvis, and I too want to express my concerns and sincere thing about COVID. I mean, I'm not using things in a negative manner, but we are here to protect our staff and students, making decisions on their behalf, and I pray that we will all follow through. And I know that our school system is making sure that all the protocols are in place, comfortable with that, and looking forward to our school year and having our students back in the classroom. And one other thing that I request that I did not get was was a copy of Dr. Fonseca's certification of superintendent. I can't read it now because I didn't get it. So I want to appreciate him for for completing a superintendent. Can you give me the title, Dr. Fonseca? He's embarrassed.
I was hoping that you would not. Yes, I am. So the North Carolina School Superintendents Association conducts a training every year. And so they are in the 8th, my cohort, which is last year's cohort, was the 8th cohort training what is called the next generation of superintendents for North Carolina. So with your support, I was able to attend all the sessions and all that, and they give you a nice little certificate that you saw in my office. So that's what she's referring to.
Well,
So
we're
thank you,
glad
Madam
you
Chair, for
did
bringing
that.
that
We're
up.
proud.
Okay, you're welcome, and this for Dr. David Fonseca and Martin County Schools
Yes, ma'am.
Superintendent. That's on their certificate, and I am proud and impressed with that certificate and that completion. So I ask that if I can, give a motion for adjournment.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Ms. Purvis,
Second.
Ms. Manson, all in favor? Raise your hand. Please be safe going home.
Ms. Carter, please put your hand.
Thank you. I would have forgot.
Oh, my God.
Oh, if I can walk.
Y'all see it?